They said if you just worked hard enough, you'd make it. But here you are, overbooked, overworked, and nowhere near the freedom you imagined that you'd have when you started this business. Now, you're not lazy, far from it. You're grinding, you're delivering for your clients, you're sacrificing sleep, evenings, weekends, you're doing everything right. So, why does it still feel so wrong? Well, what if the real problem is the lie? The lie that hustle equals success. So let me tell you what happened when I believed it too. You see, I was putting in 100-hour plus work weeks for my clients. They expected the world, and I was determined to deliver. My oldest daughter was in her final year of high school, and so much was happening in our family, but my focus, it was work. And I figured if I just pushed harder, I'll make it work and I'll get it all done. I mean, more work equals better results, right? But here's the thing, work never ends. There's always more to do, more to optimize, more to fix. I was sacrificing time with my family. I was sacrificing my health. But really, I was sacrificing it all for my ego. I couldn't fail. I wouldn't let myself. So I white knuckled it, sleeping just a few hours a night until I crashed hard. I got COVID, and with it, a thick cloud of brain fog. I couldn't think straight for weeks. No strategy, no execution, just me staring at the screen, wasting hours. Eventually, I gave in and retreated to the bedroom and slept for days. It took weeks before I could even function at my old level. And the crazy thing is, during that forced slowdown, I realized something. All that time before I got sick, I thought I was giving it 100%, but I was really only getting about 30% of the results. And my solution at the time was, well, work even harder. And that's when it hit me. Brute force wasn't going to cut it. I had to work smarter, not harder. I had to think harder about what it meant to be persistent. And this video is the result of that hard-earned lesson. And today I'm going to show you why grind culture fails, how real persistent works, and how it becomes the only true path to freedom and growth. See, we've been sold a dream, the one where if you just work hard enough, sacrifice long enough, and grind relentlessly, you'll eventually make it. You'll earn your freedom, your success, your time back. But for most freelancers and service-based business owners, that day never comes because the hustle is not a bridge. It's a loop. It's a trap. You start out doing what you love, you creating code, designing, writing, consulting. The clients come, the projects stack up, and suddenly your calendar runs your life. You're no longer building a business, you're managing chaos. It kind of feels noble because you're in demand, you're working, you're busy. But underneath that busyness is the creeping realization that you've built yourself a job. And worse, it's a job where your boss is every client that you say yes to. Let's pause here because it's actually a hard pill to swallow, especially if you're someone who takes pride in being dependable and hardworking. But here's the thing, you don't escape burnout by getting better at hustling. You escape it by choosing a different game altogether. There's a dangerous side of hustling. You see, hustle by itself, it does not scale. You can't work your way to freedom if every dollar you earn is tied to an hour that you work. But hustle tells you otherwise. It whispers, just take on one more client, stamp a little bit later, just power through this month, and then you'll be able to breathe. But the breathing room never comes. You just get deeper into a cycle of exhaustion with fewer results and less clarity. You get stuck in what's essentially a reactionary life. Clients call, you answer. Problems pop up, you fix them. Opportunities appear, and you say yes. You say yes, even if they don't fit into your vision. And the longer you stay here, the more the hustle rewires your brain. You start to confuse movement for progress. You're always in motion, but not necessarily going anywhere meaningful. You're on a treadmill. And here's what hustle culture doesn't tell you. Success does not come from doing more. It comes from doing less of the wrong things and more of the right things. And it comes from doing the right things consistently. It comes from saying no to the things that burn time, energy, and creativity. And it comes from deciding what kind of business you're building and then relentlessly persisting in that same direction, even when it's slow, even when it's uncertain. This is where hustle fails and persistence begins. You see, hustle is reactive, but persistence is intentional. Hustle is chaotic. However, persistence is consistent. Hustle burns out, while persistence builds up. And this isn't just about mindset. It's about how you structure your time, your offers, and your decisions. Do you want to grow something that outlives your energy? Then you need to drop the bad habits of hustle. You need a new approach, one built not on motion, but on momentum. So let's be real. Everyone says they're persistent. But what most people call persistence is really just frenzied effort. It's a sprint disguised as a marathon. True persistence is not flashy. It's not always inspiring. Most of the time, it's actually kind of boring. But real persistence is this: patient focus. It's waking up, showing up, and doing the same small strategic things over and over again, even when you're not sure they're working yet. In fact, especially then. You see, there's power of small and repeated actions. You can think about it like this. You don't get fit by going to the gym once for 6 hours. You get fit by going for 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week for 6 months straight. It's the same in business. If you want to grow an audience, it's not about one viral video. It's about showing up week after week, even when the views are low. Want to build better systems or create an offer that scales? Well, that doesn't happen in one massive work sprint. It happens in small, persistent refinements. And yeah, those small efforts can feel invisible, but the results are not invisible. Because over time, the compounding effect of focused action adds up in a way that random hustle never will. Now, here's why most people stumble and pivot too early. They put in the work, but only for a little while. Then they pivot. They start something new because they didn't see the payoff fast enough. But most things in business follow what's called a J curve. You put in a ton of effort up front, and for a while it feels like nothing's happening. And that's when most people quit, right before the curve starts to rise. But persistence says, stay the course. Because even if you can't see the results yet, the work is working. Even if it's not working in the way that you want it to work, it's working on you. It's laying the foundation. It's building clarity. And it's creating traction for you, even if you can't see it. Quitting early resets your progress to zero. Every time you start over, you trade momentum for inertia. Now, starting something new feels good. It gives you a dopamine hit, a fresh sense of purpose, but that feeling fades. And you end up back where you started, grinding again, chasing again, wondering what you're doing wrong and feeling worse because this is yet another thing that you've done that you've not gotten the results that you're after. But the good news is that persistence breaks that cycle. And here's what that has looked like for me. When I committed to creating videos, I knew the early ones wouldn't be perfect. And I wasn't sure they'd take off. And I didn't know how fast the audience would grow. But I stuck with it. Video after video, week after week, not because the views are rolling in, but I believed in the direction that I was going. And that's the key. Persistence isn't about certainty, but it's about commitment to the direction that you're going. It's not dependence on results. So even when you're tired, even when it's quiet, and even when no one is watching, you keep at it. Because that's when those who build something real are separated from those who bounce between half-finished efforts. Now, massive views still aren't in for me, but you're watching, and I'm truly grateful for you watching. Now may be a good time for a like or a comment on how I can improve to make these better for you. Now, let's talk about what happens when you have persistence and you actually stick with it. Because persistence isn't just a survival strategy, it's the pathway to freedom. Freedom is why you started your business. You didn't launch your business to be buried in deliverables. You didn't become a freelancer or service-based business owner so you could work longer hours than a corporate job. You did it for freedom, to live life on your terms, to create income without sacrificing your health, your family, or your soul. But freedom doesn't just show up because you want it to. It's built over time by those who keep going when others quit. And the tool that builds this freedom is focused persistence. So let me clear something up. Freedom is not about doing nothing. Freedom is not the absence of work. Freedom is doing the right things at the right time with the right boundaries. It means you're no longer stuck in reactive chaos. You're moving strategically. You said no to the wrong clients, projects, and distractions that don't align with your vision. And you've said yes to the systems, habits, and offers that move the needle forward in your favor. And that only happens when you stay the course long enough for those systems to work. And that's where persistence becomes a tool for leverage. You see, persistence helps you build these three things. Number one is a productized offer instead of custom everything. Two is a systemized workflow instead of reinventing the wheel. And three is a client pipeline instead of constantly chasing referrals. So each one of those takes time. Each one takes effort. And none of them produce immediate results, but they compound, they build capacity, and eventually they give you your time back. Now, when results are slow, that's when this matters the most. There'll be long stretches where the payoffs feel small. You'll be putting in work, and it'll feel like no one sees it. And you'll question, is it worth it? You'll be tempted to pivot or pause or just go back to grinding because it's familiar after all. But that's the moment that matters most. Because freedom doesn't come from avoiding friction. It comes from pushing through the friction, deliberately, not frantically. Because when you persist through slow growth, through quiet launches, through hard decisions, you build trust with yourself. You create clarity around what's working. You refine your process. You lay the groundwork for a business that works without you having to do everything yourself. And that's the trade-off most people miss. They want fast results, so they keep hopping strategies. But the real win comes to those who stick with a few things and do them well. So here's what it looks like on the other side of persistence. You wake up and you know what to do. Your systems support you. Your calendar breathes. You create from overflow, not depletion. You're no longer grinding to survive. Instead, you're creating to serve and to scale and to live. And that's the real reward of persistence. It's not just about getting through the hard parts. It's about building something that frees you from those hard times entirely. And we've been taught that success comes from hustle. But you've seen where that leads. It leads to burnout, to breakdown, and to a business that owns you. But what actually builds freedom? Focused persistence. Persistence that rejects the chaos and sticks to a single direction. Persistence that trusts small actions will actually compound into big results. And persistence that builds something bigger than your calendar. So here's a question for you to think on. What's one area that you've been tempted to quit too soon? Is it marketing? Is it delegation? Creating content? Raising your prices? Well, whatever it is, now's the time to recommit. Not with frantic energy, but with focused, steady action. Because the people who win aren't always the most talented. They're the ones who keep showing up when others stop. And if you're ready to go deeper into this idea of simple, unshakable persistence, watch this next. This founder's one-word success secret changed my day. It'll lock in everything we talked about today and give you a clear example of how persistence plays out in real success stories. I'll see you in the next video.